From Illinois Public Media News, this is 217 Today. I'm Kimberly Schofield. It's Tuesday, November 5th. Coming up, millions of Americans say politics are a major source of stress, and there's actually a name for that. It's called socio-political stress. How can you take care of your mental health this election season? We'll hear more on that story coming up in a few minutes. But first, these headlines. Champaign County is increasing security at its polling places after a series of concerning behaviors. As IPM's Mayanta reports, staff will be on site at all county voting locations today to monitor for safety threats.
Clerk Aaron Ammon says the United States has a thorough and trustworthy process for counting the votes, but not everyone is trusting.
This rhetoric has taken hold, and the losers in particular are the ones who will be saying that there's something wrong or something fraudulent with the process. And most of the time, they have no knowledge of how that process works.
He says one person without any credentials stood at a polling location a couple of times, claiming they just wanted to watch. Another person got into a fight after they refused to remove a hat with a political message and began recording an election judge. May Hunter, IPM News.
Some Illinois Republicans are saying, "I told you so," after a challenging budget forecast was released late last week. Alex Degman reports.
The outlook shows a more than $3 billion shortfall in next year's state budget if there aren't any spending cuts or revenue enhancements, like tax hikes. The governor's Office of Management and Budget says sales tax revenues are down, and the state's expected to spend more in areas like education and health care for state workers. It says funding new programs will be, quote, severely limited. Republican State Senator Chapin Rose says he's been warning for years that state budgets will suffer without COVID relief money.
We're all going to be left with a pretty big hole. And, this guy's spending like a drunken sailor through the first 6 years of his, governorship. Here we are.
Governor J.B. Pritzker's office says this outlook is only a projection, and the governor plans to present a balanced budget. I'm Alex Degman.
Secret FBI recordings in the federal corruption trial of former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan laid out a scheme to pay a one-time aide fired for sexual harassment. Dave McKinney reports from the Dirksen Federal Building in Chicago.
The ex-speaker's co-defendant, Michael McLean, hit up a group of Madigan insiders for money to help Kevin Quinn, the out-of-work brother of Chicago Alderman Marty Quinn. A prosecutor played a 2018 recording where McLean tells Madigan of the plan, and the ex-speaker does nothing to stop it.
I didn't know if you wanted to mention it to Marty, or if you want to stay out of it, or...
Well,
or do you want me to talk to Marty? I mean, whatever you want.
Yeah, I think I ought to stay out of it.
The scheme is part of the racketeering conspiracy charge against both men. This is Dave McKinney.
The Illinois chapter of the League of Women Voters says their organization is committed to getting accurate election information out to voters. From online voter guides and misinformation webinars to training volunteers to poll watch. Roberta Borino serves as the vice president of the group. She says they want voters to be the most informed when they go to the ballot box today.
Having to find good information is hard for people, and they turn to the League because we have been known to do some education in our time.
Polling places will be open in Illinois until 7 p.m. Still to come, millions of Americans say politics are a major source of stress. We'll hear how you can take care of your mental health this election season. That story is coming up next on 217 Today, but first, meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your forecast.
I'm meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your IPM News forecast for Champaign-Urbana. Your forecast for today, cloudy and breezy with rain likely and a high of 68 degrees. A south wind 15 to 25 miles per hour, gusting to 45 miles per hour. Tonight, cloudy with rain ending before midnight and a low of 46 degrees. A west wind 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tomorrow, mostly sunny with a high of 57 degrees. A northwest wind 5 miles per hour. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy with a low of 42 degrees. A northeast wind 5 miles per hour. And for Thursday, mostly sunny with a high of 60 degrees and a northeast wind 5 miles per hour.
Next time on the 21st show, the emotion of fear is an important force in American politics, and it's partly responsible for our deep divides. As voters go to the polls, we're taking a step back from day-to-day politics to talk with noted Chicago philosopher Martha Nussbaum about fear and what the lessons of history can teach us about how to overcome it. I'm Brian Mackey. That's next time on The 21st Show. Join us.
You're listening to 217 Today. I'm Kimberly Schofield. Today, November 5th, is Election Day, and a lot of people are at the end of their rope. Research shows an estimated 94 million Americans perceive politics as a significant source of stress. So what should you do to take care of your mental health during elections? Side Effects Public Media's community engagement specialist, Lizzie McGreevy, spoke with health reporter Elizabeth Gabriel about that. Here is McGreevy.
I've spoken with a few people, and they are capital S stressed about this election. Here's what Rachel, a woman in her 50s from Indianapolis, told me.
The constant barrage of negativity and fear-driven narratives was leaving me irritable, exhausted, and anxious. Politics was killing my soul, so I decided for my mental health to listen to more music and humorous podcasts like Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me on NPR.
That's actually a really good coping strategy. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people also feel similarly. This category of mental health is known as socio-political stress. It's become prevalent in people who are more politically active compared to people who aren't engaged in politics.
It's actually really helpful to know that this has a name. But can you tell us more? Like, for example, who is the most impacted by this socio-political stress, and how is it affecting them?
Great question. So I spoke with Sarah Suzuki, a researcher with the Center for Information and Research on Civic Learning and Engagement. In 2020, she tracked socio-political stress before, during, and after the election. The people who experience it the most are arguably impacted the most by politics.
LGBTQ plus youth, women, and in that specific research, we were starting to find a pattern of youth of color having those higher levels too.
Well, that seems to make a lot of sense. What are some of the signs and symptoms that one can expect to feel while experiencing sociopolitical stress?
There are many factors. Some of that looks like changes in sleep or appetite. Ruminating or looping thoughts that play over and over in your head are also an indication. That's something I'm guilty of. But therapist Laurel Roberts-Meese says sociopolitical stress can exacerbate other mental health problems someone is already struggling with. Research shows that a little bit of stress and anxiety is actually good for the body, but too much can be bad.
We're going to start seeing more breakdown of tissue. We're going to see more neural networks that are not serving the person. We're going to see more trauma memories getting triggered, and chronic health conditions that are pre-existing are going to get worse.
That's why we have to be careful of how much we're taking on, which can look different for each person.
You know, Elizabeth, I thought I was eating a lot of Reese's Cups because it was Halloween season. Turns out it might just be my socio-political stress. So I will be sure to talk to my therapist about that. But I can't help but think not everyone has the luxury of just tuning out or to stop scrolling or thinking about politics. So for some people, political discourse may directly threaten their identity, their core beliefs, or even their ability to stay in our country. How do we juggle being engaged, but also staying informed?
Therapists say checking with your news sources is really important, and signing up for newsletters could be a way to stay informed without being overwhelmed. They also talk about limiting the amount of time you spend on social media to make sure you aren't overexposing yourself to frustrating or disturbing content. That can lead to vicarious traumatization. Here's therapist Laurel Roberts-Meese again.
You can be an activist and not just be constantly doom scrolling. In fact, you're going to have more capacity to be an activist if you're not constantly stressing yourself out.
On election night, therapists say it's okay to not watch the results come in. It's okay to do a puzzle or something more soothing to maintain your stress levels. Scheduling time to write out your worries about the election for about 20 or so minutes can be helpful too. Or put your phone in another room before you head to bed so you don't end up doom scrolling.
This was part of the latest episode from The Checkup by Side Effects Public Media. Side Effects Public Media is a health reporting collaboration of NPR member stations across the Midwest. Illinois Public Media will have live election coverage on AM 580, FM 90.9, and Illinois Soul FM 101.1 starting tonight at 6 p.m. We'll have local and statewide results at 15 after the hour until 11 p.m. And tonight at 7 p.m., you can see real-time election results from every county in Illinois at ipmnewsroom.org. Our team is also working to talk with election winners after the races are called. Polls are open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. today, and if you're still in line at 7 p.m., you will be allowed to cast your ballot. If you have questions about where to vote, visit Your Voice, Your Vote. That section of ipmnewsroom.org allows you to enter your address, and it will show you a sample ballot and connect you with your precinct location. That's it for today. 217 Today is produced by Stephanie Mosqueda. Reporting today contributed by May Antar, Alex Stegman, Dave McKinney, Mawa Iqbal. Music by the Kilbourne Alley Blues Band. Reginald Hardwick is our news director. I'm Kimberly Schofield. 217 Today is a production of Illinois Public Media. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.